Brian Wright from Brian Wright 732, Daily B 71. What are we talking about? We're talking about respect. Hey, Brian from BrianWright732.com and fitin.com, PHITIN.com. Fitin.com will actually be going live this week. Check it out. So, respect. I mentioned it in the intro, and what are we talking about? I had a conversation the other day about respect in the workplace between old and young. So, I know a bunch of people that are in their late 50s, early to mid 60s that run big companies that are having a lot of problems, or they're saying they have problems with young people coming into the workforce. And we're talking about age range from basically from like 18 to 28, which I guess we would call the millennial generation. So they're complaining. And I'm like, what are you complaining about? You created the environment that created these people. So they all look at me and they're like, what do you mean? We didn't do this. And I'm like, absolutely you did this. It was your generation that created the computer. It was your generation that created the cell phone. It was your generation that created Wi-Fi technology. I mean, I don't know exactly how old Bill Gates is, but I'm assuming he's in his 60s. Steve Jobs probably would have been in his 60s. You know, the Apple, Microsoft founders that created the foundation, which every one of these modern platforms is coming from, it all started there. Instant messaging, all the ways that we communicate today. I fell short there. Did you see that? I just crashed. It's early. The caffeine hasn't kicked in. I apologize. I will try and get back on track. So if you look at, like, say Snapchat, for instance. Snapchat is just a faster version of that dumb cell phone I had in 1998. You know, everything is just faster, high def, better technology now. It was all created by these 60-year-olds, and they're bitching and moaning that, like, oh my God, these kids can't communicate, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, you know what? Think about it. If you didn't have technology growing up, you're used to writing by hand, you're used to writing long form, you're used to reading long form. You didn't have a 24-hour news cycle. You had news at like 6 and 11, and you sat there and you watched for an hour to catch up what was going on in the world and whatever. But now, because you created a technology that allowed information to come quicker, and then you got really into your cable television back in the day, like in the late 70s or early 80s, when we were transitioning to like cable TV from like 4 channels to, you know, now we have like 4 billion channels to choose from. But it all started with the people in their 60s now. They and their desires and their acquisitions and whatever created this entire platform we've got, and now you're bitching and moaning and complaining about it and saying that kids are different, they communicate different, all this kind of stuff. Shut your mouth. Shut your mouth. You started off long form handwritten. Now everything's short form, really fast, 24-hour cycles. You created that. It's what you wanted. Now you say you don't want it, but it's what you did to make your money. It's what you're retiring on. It was your ideas that laid the foundation that created this. You've got to accept this, and you've got to stop hating on youth because it's different than you. You created that youth. You developed that youth. You cultivated the technology that the youth is embracing. And now, instead of calling them stupid and lazy or whatever the hell negative connotation you want to have, why don't you embrace the fact that they're the most communicative generation ever? They communicate different, though. They don't sit there and have long conversations. The kids that grew up on Twitter have 140 characters to write a fucking book. You know, your text messaging. Why do you think we have LOL? Because you have a little box to write a lot of stuff. So they don't sit there and just freely communicate. Younger people think about their communication because they only have X amount of characters and X amount of space to say what they have to say. And they're also not saying it peer-to-peer, sitting in front of each other. So they have to make sure that what they say doesn't come across with the wrong connotation. Because I can say a sentence, and due to the fact that you didn't hear it come out of my mouth and you didn't see the expression on my face, you don't know if I'm joking, if I'm serious. It could be sarcastic, it could be angry, it could be happy, it could be whatever it is. You don't know. So not only do they have to think about what they're going to say, they've got to think about what the reaction to it's going to be. So there's a stress level to that communication. So maybe communication is not so free for them. Maybe they don't see words as something that just get exchanged. Maybe they see it as something that is very valuable and they have to think about, and they have to communicate differently than you're used to. Maybe your ideas come from like, back and forth, exchanging conversations. For them, it's a sentence or two, a picture, a short video clip, short, condensed conversation that has to be deciphered, and then it goes back and forth. There's a lot of things that are just different. Neither one's right or wrong. They are just what they are. So stop fighting and complaining over them. That's why they're leaving you. That's why they jump jobs, because that millennial generation is looking for someone to get them. If you could be the person that gets them, you could be the person that bridges the gap. You can come to a compromise position where they'll learn what you need, and you'll learn what they need to function best. And then in the middle, you all of a sudden have an evolving company. Instead of a company that's sitting there and saying, I want to act like it's 1985 and ignoring that as 2016, you can get a company that takes the best. It takes your experience with the vigor, the youth, the new energy that this other generation brings to the table. You can be the person that pushes your industry forward instead of sitting there and having meetings to fight to stay 10 years in the past, 20 years in the past. You can stay current, and you can understand exactly what year you live in, how you're supposed to do business today, and stop disrespecting the next consumer you're going to have to be selling to. So if you look at these millennials that you're complaining about, even let's say you don't like a 15-year-old or an 18-year-old, 3, 4, 5 years, that person is going to be spending their money with you or not. They're going to spend who they feel most comfortable with. And if you're telling them they're stupid, they're lazy, they don't know how to make decisions, they're bad with their money, they like blah, blah, coming up with a whole negative narrative, they're not going to spend money with you because you're disrespecting who they are. What their motivation is going to be is to put you out of business. They're going to replace you. They're going to shut you down, because they're going to be progressive. Okay, fine, you'll retire, you'll have your money, whatever. But what are you leaving behind? Nothing. Because you've created a business that doesn't have life beyond you because you don't have the ability to evolve. So evolve your understanding. Embrace new technology. Embrace the thought process of youth. Help youth translate their behaviors into a marketplace. Don't sit there and try and keep the marketplace back, because you can't. The market is always going to evolve. All right, today it's July 12th, 2016. Pokemon Go is like the biggest thing to ever hit mobile apps. So what are you going to do? Are you going to sit there and say, I have no idea what the hell that is? Are you going to put it on your phone? Are you going to play it? You don't have to do either, but you have to understand what it does. You have to understand how people are interacting with their phones, with their tablets, how they're not on their computers so much. You have to see how people are thinking, and then you have to apply that to how you communicate, how you converse with people, how your business interacts with the marketplace. These are the things we have to do to stay relevant. You don't want to sit there and talk about the VHS tapes. You don't want to talk about your records that you used to spin back in 1970, whatever. You want to you've got to evolve. You've got to embrace this technology, and you've got to have respect for those. If you're young, respect the people that have come before you. If you've been there and done that, have respect for the ones coming up. Everybody has something to bring to the table. The people that you think are crazy and whatever, listen to them. See how they're interacting. And if the majority of people in the room are doing it, it is what the future is going to be. And you are going to have to conform to it, because the marketplace is just a big wave. You're either going to drown, or you're going to, you're going to ride it. You're going to put your boat on it, and you're going to last a while, or you're not. For me, I'm 42 years old. I've got a lot of work left in me. I look at other people that are in their 60s, that they still have a lot of work left in them, because, as we get older, it's still younger. But the thing is, it's a legacy issue. It's a continuing of a tradition issue. It's knowing that when I'm done doing this in 20, 30 years, that somebody else is going to pick up the mantle and keep running with it. And the only way that I can establish that, and the only way you can establish that, is by having respect for those below you. You can't make them be you, and you can't be them. But you both can work together to create a sustainable platform that has, the strength to adjust with the marketplace as time rolls forward. It has the lacking of ego that gets in the way so that the business can evolve. Ego does not allow for evolution. Ego is just like, bam, it stops. Nothing can get past it. Because ego makes you need to be right. But in business, the only way to be right is to be right at the end, not at the beginning. You can lose all the way to the end and then check out and get paid. It's about your bottom line. It's about the amount of people that you interact with. It's about the positive effects you have on the marketplace that last beyond your years. That's where you win. It's not you being recognized for what you do and no one else getting credit. It's about giving the credit. It's about people saying, wow, they knew when to make the right moves because they were open to see what the right moves were. They didn't just want to do their moves. They wanted to do the right moves. So you can be right 1 out of 10 times and feel great because you vindicated yourself by being right, or you can be wrong personally 9 times. Have 9 people around you that come up with the right decisions and be right that one time for yourself, and then actually be right 10 times. Be right every time. And expand your bubble and bring people in and develop something that'll last. This is how you're going to have to deal with youth. You're going to have to shut your ego down, and you're going to have to open yourself up to different ways to communicate, different behaviors, different dress codes, different looks, different interactions. You know, you might be in your 60s and think tattoos are like, dirty or whatever. It's a common thing. I know a lot of people that don't like them. Look, people, I have them. I've been hearing from old people the whole time. How could you do that to yourself? Fuck you, because I wanted to. Whatever. You can either sit there and judge me for it and say whatever, or realize that I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a business owner, I'm a successful human being. My tattoos don't mean anything. It's something I personally do. Someone gets a nose ring because that's what young people do. Don't hate on them for it. Somebody likes to text. They're not stupid. It's how they communicate. They're on Snapchat. It's the new medium. They like Pokemon Go and they're 28 years old. So what? In Japan right now, comic books and teddy bears are like the #1 thing in 30-year-olds. You got a bunch of 40-year-olds that collect teddy bears in Japan. In our culture, you would say, wow, that's kind of weird. But in their culture, it's the norm. The norms change. Marketplace changes. All right, I'm going on for this for too long. But my main message here is stop being old. Old should mean experienced. It should mean wise. So take your experience. Be the person you needed when you're the age of the person you're talking. You see an 18-year-old, be the person you needed when you were 18. 24, be that person. Be open to that. When a 24-year-old comes to you and says they have an idea, embrace that idea the way you wish your ideas were embraced. And see how many people you dealt with lost value in their situations because they didn't listen to you. And don't be that stupid. Don't be that egocentric. Don't have the desire to be personally right so bad that you can't see the value in what other people bring. It doesn't matter who's right. You will be right if you bring the right solutions to the table, no matter where they come from. It doesn't have to come from your brain. It has to come from your environment. It has to come from the culture that you created. And the guy that is right will love you forever if you embrace his idea and help them make them a success. But if you fight them and you don't let them bring their idea to the table and they care about it enough, they are going to bring it to the table and they're going to beat you with it eventually. And then they're going to tell everyone you're a dick. And they're going to show everybody how much better they are than you. And they're going to put you out of business. So stay in business. Embrace youth. Learn. Compromise. Evolve. Stop getting stuck. 10 years ago was not 1995. It was 2006. Get that in your head. All right. Later.